Welcome, everyone, to the Meaningful Hearts podcast, where we discuss the everyday questions that make us or break us if we let them. I am your host, Drew. Take my hand and let's walk this journey together. Welcome back, everyone. And today in this episode, I want to talk about being in a position of power. If you were in a position of power, how would you be? What would you be like? Would you be understanding? Would you be passive? Would you be dominant? What kind of leader would you be? I mean, I'm hoping that you would be fair. I'm hoping that you would be someone of good character, someone who understands the both sides of the spectrum and makes a decision not based on whether you want the person to like you or not, but on fairness. Were they handled in the right way? Were they treated with respect and dignity? Or would you be somebody that would just lay the hammer down and be a tyrant? Somebody who just really wants to lay down the law, and whether you like it or not, tough. This is how things are. Well, I could tell you that some leaders are like this. They're unreasonable. They have no clue what the right thing to do is. They have all types of leaders out there. But what I want to get at is, if you are in a position of power, and we're in positions of power every day in our lives. Every day, there is some point where we do have a position of power of decision. Whether it's the person that serves our coffee, or maybe it's somebody that looks up to us. Maybe you have children. Maybe you're a boss. There's always the decision to make, not necessarily towards someone, but towards something. And you have the chance to take advantage of that situation, or you can handle it fairly. A lot of us have remote jobs. We're autonomous, where we have to spend our time. We get paid a salary to do our jobs correctly. And we might have a boss that sits there and watches us, right? They expect us to get the work done, and we do. And we get paid for it. And maybe there's a situation where we have people that rely on us for certain things, and we have to tell them what to do. So how do we handle those scenarios? What kind of person are we? Well, I have another situation. What if you were paying rent at a luxury property, somewhere where you were paying an absorbent amount of money to live there, but there's staff that handles the premises. They handle the day-to-day operations of that building. Now, you're not the only person in there. There's several other people that live in that building, and there's rules that you have to follow, and the rules are enforceable. What would you say if somebody that you had to come in contact with that wasn't necessarily your superior, but there was somebody that worked on premise there and told you what needs to be done in order to rectify a situation, but you didn't like the answer? Would you bark orders at that person and make them feel insignificant and say, I pay your salary, so you need to listen to me. I'm the paying customer. You just work here, but if I don't pay rent, you don't get paid. Now, that scenario could happen. You could be at a restaurant. The waiter gives you an attitude. In the end of the day, the waiter is getting tips from you, right? But you are a patron that is paying to sit there and eat, and you want to get served. But does that give you the right to handle a scenario or a situation in a way that disrespects somebody else? Because at the end of the day, you still have to respect somebody. You still have to understand that there's a protocol in which way things are done. Just because you feel that you're entitled to act a certain way does not mean that you're able to. But we have people in this world that feel that's okay. And I really want to talk about that a little bit. I personally have experienced this as of recent. I was explaining to somebody that the situation arose where they had a package that they needed. There was a scenario that I dealt with where the person was upset because they said that we lost something of theirs. And everything that we have that we receive from them is inventoried. So it's tracked. They get notified and they come and pick it up. That's it. It's very simple. It's a very simple process. And if they're tracking something, specifically maybe a package, by the courier that's bringing it, they can actually see that it's arrived, and then they can call and say, hey, listen, is this here? But instead, blaming and saying that the package was lost, or saying that, hey, listen, you have to listen to me. I'm trying to explain to you that this is your job and that you should be more responsible and not lose my stuff, even though it wasn't lost, putting words in my mouth. And then saying there's a package coming later, and if said package arrives, make sure you call me. As if, there's nobody else to worry about except for her. Didn't really get much of an answer because she huffed off and was upset, which is fine. You'd be upset, be pissed off. I get it. You didn't get your way, or you felt maybe you didn't get the answer you wanted. That's fine. But then continue to, complain about it, and then yell at me and say, it's your job. I pay your salary. You need to listen to me. Like as if you're my boss. Okay. That's how you feel. And I understand it. But in reality, that's not how things work in this world. Just because you might be in the right, or you might have a specific understanding of how things work, but you feel that your actions are justified. You don't just start barking orders at people, because it doesn't matter if it's the person that cleans the floors that gets paid to clean the floors. Doesn't mean you get to throw stuff on the floor and say, clean it up because you have to do it. It's your job. People still need respect. People still need to be understood on both sides. You can't just make up the rules as you go because you've justified it to yourself. And that is something that we really need to reassess. Thinking that you own something because you pay into it. You don't own it. There's superiors that manage things. You can't go somewhere. You can't go to a park and decide to just do whatever you want in that park. There might be rules. And even though the employees are there, not for you, but they get paid, they have the superiors, and you're a patron there, it doesn't mean you can disrespect them. It doesn't mean that you can just make up your rules as you go because they can't say anything. It doesn't work that way. If you're a boss and you have employees that are supposed to respond to you and you're their superior, it doesn't mean you get to disrespect them. It doesn't mean that you could say things to them and they have to take it. And there are some people that are so afraid of losing their jobs. They're so afraid that they'll take this shit from people. They'll take shit from a paying customer because they're afraid of getting in trouble. The employees will take shit from their boss, even though they're right, because they're afraid. And then when you have somebody that's in a position of fear and they're afraid to speak up, they feel trapped. It's another sign of like a toxic, abusive situation that arises in the workplace. I've seen it. I've dealt with it. I've lost my job over it because I was not willing to participate in that. I was not going to be disrespected. I respect everyone. I go above and beyond to respect people. But sometimes people think on the other end, that's weakness. That's, oh, you're a pushover. In reality, no. I have respect for everyone. The janitor, I don't care what your job is. I don't care if I'm the boss. I'm fair, but I'm also respectful because I understand what it's like. I understand everybody comes home. Regardless, when we clock out of work, we're all civilians. We're all walking the streets. No better or worse. We're all people that need love and respect. We have families. We all come from the same place. We were once children that grew up into our careers or whatever we're doing. We participate in this world, and it works in a specific order. But if you think for a moment, because you maybe have a little bit of an advantage over somebody else, that it gives you the right to disrespect them or treat them a certain way, unkindly. Not at all. And now they might take that from you. They might feel like, hey, I have to listen to this person. There are people that just say, listen, it's not worth the fight. I'd rather just let it roll off my back and get on with my day because there's other things. And I'll be the better person. I'll take the higher road. And I get it. I get what you're doing there. But you still have to take pride in yourself and say, you know what? I don't deserve this. And I need to speak up. I need to raise my voice and I need to deal with this head on. And I understand that money's at stake or maybe you don't want to look a certain way, but sometimes you have to stand up for yourself. And sometimes you have to say, no, not today. That's not going to happen today. And that's okay. It's fair. As long as you're in the right. If you're disrespecting people and then they get back at you, that's a different story. But I'm talking about people that feel the need to press on somebody or to say something to somebody or treat them poorly, even if they didn't do anything wrong, just treating them poorly just because, hey, listen, you're this maggot that's doing this work and I'm here and I have money and I have this and I have that and you got to listen to me. Or not even money related, just in general. I'm in a position that I can do this and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, that's bullshit. And I feel that needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed because at one point in your life, you might be the one at the mercy of somebody else. Because everybody answers to someone in some sort of order. You might be the king of the hill here, but then there's somebody that's the king of the mountain. And they tell you what to do. And would you like to be treated poorly at that point? Or maybe you are being treated poorly at that point. Is it fair? It's not fair. It's not fair at all. It's not fair to be treated that way. I think we should all respect each other. Everyone should take a moment. If maybe you're having a bad day and you really let somebody have it, you really disrespect somebody. Maybe it's, you're in a coffee shop and you're having a bad day and you might get snippy with somebody who works there. Or maybe at work, one of your coworkers or maybe one of your employees. And you just got at them. And because they can't really say anything, they just let it happen. Don't think just because they pretend that everything's cool that they're not thinking stuff. They're not saying, you know what? That really affected my working ability. That affected. You don't know what people are going through themselves. You have no idea. And I take account there are people that are going through things and maybe they lose their cool. They might say things they don't mean. But sometimes they come around and apologize. But there are situations where people don't. And you got to figure out when is a good time to address this situation. When is a good time to call somebody out for it? I had a situation where I did. Because I was being disrespected multiple times. For doing what? I was doing my job, but I was being told what my job was. That sucks. When somebody thinks they know your job and they don't, and you do your job effectively, especially when you actually have dealt with them on several other occasions and extended the courtesies to them that's not necessarily in my job scope, but I did it because it's a courtesy. But the problem is sometimes people think a courtesy is what your job entails and that's expected of you. And that's a different story. And there are people that will take advantage of this. And sometimes you have to check people and say, hey, listen, that's not the way things work. That's not it. And they're undeserving. As you can tell, their actions show that they're not deserving of what's given to them. They take it for granted and then they want more. So if you were in a position of power, even if you're not today, but if you were, I want you to take into account what that actually looks like, what that might be, and how you would react and how you would handle certain scenarios. Even when the scenario calls for you to be a little harder, maybe to yell at somebody, sometimes you have to dial back and learn a different way to approach things. And the better that we become at approaching things, the better and more effective communication-wise we'll be. And above all, we'll be able to work in a happier place, or we'll be able to deal with people on a regular basis and it'll be better. And I think the whole world needs to revamp their approach, because people think just because it's been acceptable in their homes that they can come out into the public world and act the same way and it's going to get accepted. Well, it's not. It's a rude awakening. Be self-aware of yourself. Be aware of what you say and do at all times. There's never a good time to show your ass in public and disrespect people. I don't care. I don't care where it is, because of who they are. Respect people. That's really all I have to say. This is more of just like a thing that I had in my mind that kind of upset me this week, and I really just wanted to get it out. So if you're one of those people that disrespects people, stop that bullshit, because it's not cool. Just because you are who you are doesn't mean that person can't be where you're at one day. Stop that shit. It's not cool. I love you all. Thank you for listening. Good night.